Once you have your layout laid out, you might want to show content in your page, and depending on what content you will show, you might need to select the best component to showcase your information. I'll be explaining the basic usage of these components that Material UI offers in their official docs, so feel free to check it out if you need specific details. Let's start out simple with the avatar component. This is similar to what Microsoft Teams uses for their user profiles, where you can set up an image or the initials of your names. It is simple to use. You can provide an image with a source prop or a React node inside. This includes text or icons. If the component fails to retrieve the image, it fallbacks to what is inside the component, the alt text or a generic image by Material UI in that order. The avatar also provides the rounded or square variant. You can as well provide your own variant, which I explained on my video about customization. This component does not offer size and color props, so you have to change it using the SX props. You can also group multiple avatars together just by wrapping all your avatars in the avatar group component. You can provide the variant in the avatar group instead if you want to apply to all of them. To set a max amount of avatars to show, use the max prop, and to manually set the total inside the group, use the total prop. You can also manage the spacing between each avatar using the spacing prop. It accepts medium and small, but you can also pass in a number. The greater the number, the closer the avatar items get. Behind the scenes, it uses negative margins to clump them together. Let's continue with the bash component. It is commonly used on notifications or shopping carts. It is normally paired with an icon inside, but you can put whatever in it. To display the bash in the default variant, you need to pass in the prop bash content. It accepts a React node, but typically you will display a number. You can also set a max value to prevent it from moving. To add a background to the bash, just pass in the color prop. This will take what you have defined on the theme. For the dot variant, normally indicating that there is something new, we'll just ignore the bash content and just display the color. The bash in both variants will hide automatically if the bash content is a falsy value, but you can control this behavior using the invisible prop. You can also position your bash on any of the corners using the anchor position prop, and if your children is circularly shaped, you can also pass in the overlay prop, which essentially moves it closer to the children using CSS position. Let's talk about the chip component. You can see this mostly on filters, shopping tags, or additional actions. This component is self-closing, meaning it does not have a children. To set the content inside the chip, it uses the label prop, which accepts a React node. It has a filled and outlined variant with the respective colors from the theme. You can make the chip clickable passing on an onClick function, or using it as a link passing the component A and the clickable prop. By default, if you pass in an onDelete function, it will render an X icon. However, you can customize it by passing a delete icon prop. If you wish to add an adornment at the start, pass in the icon or avatar prop. The chip components have two sizes, but you can customize these or add more on your theme. Divider. As the name suggests, it is used to divide elements into separate groups, just like an HR element, which renders a separation line. You can render its orientation horizontally or vertically, although when it is vertical, be sure to pass in the flex item prop as well, so it takes the full height of the container instead of a 0 pixel, which is the default. The default variant is full width, but there is a variant of middle which puts the divider in the center using margins, and the variant inset which adds an indent at the beginning of the divider. You can also add a children in between the divider and adjust its position with text align. If you want to change the divider's color, you can change it on the theme or use the border color property on the SX prop. If you have a children, it becomes a bit tricky because it uses the before and after pseudo elements, so just modify those instead. Icons. Material UI has an icon library on its own called Muy Icons Material. You can just install it and search for the icon on their page. However, if you prefer other libraries like FunAwesome, you can just follow their documentation and add it into your project. If you need to add a color, you can just add it to the color prop. If you prefer instead to have all Material's capabilities, then you can set it up inside the icon component. However, you will have to modify this CSS class for it to not be cropped, because Material and FunAwesome are built different. You can also use the SVG icon component, but you will have to pass the path every time, and that just seems too time consuming, but feel free to indulge on it. Next up, we have the tooltip. It is used when you need to add extra information when the item itself is not enough, usually to describe it further. You can set it into 12 different positions, starting from the 4 size and its respective alignment. You do the math. There's one caveat though. When using a function component inside Tooltips, you'll see that it does not show anything. It is because the tooltip needs to apply its event listeners into the children, so you need to pass the reference with React forward ref in order for it to work. There are many customizations you can do on the tooltip. You can add an arrow indicating that it comes from that element with the arrow prop. You can also configure when to show the tooltip. The default is on hover, but you can also set it on focus, on click, or on touch. You can disable each respective listener with the disable prop. Also, if you don't want people to interact with your tooltip, which I don't see why anyone would do that, you can set a prop called disable interactive, and users will never be able to catch up with your tooltip. You can also control the animations on the tooltip through that transition component prop. Material UI have its own animation components if you are interested as well. You can control the timing with the transition prop, and lastly, you can also set it to follow your cursor, which is pretty cool. This is enough for now. I'll be explaining the other components in a second part, since they are a bit more complex to fit in this video. However, I hope you did enjoy it. If you have any suggestions, feel free to comment or even say hi. Remember to like and subscribe as this helps with my content. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.